This conference will now be recorded.
Okay,
Call the meeting to order for a police committee meeting, Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021.
what time are we gonna call it? 5:01? That's what I have.
5:01 is fine. This is trustee Malagranda. I am at the village hall due to the governor's executive order for the COVID issue. Do a roll call. Julie O'Rourke,
Yep, here.
Don Kimes.
Here.
Looks like we have Sally Bennett and Jeremy Jeremy Graham on the, whatever it is.
Go to meeting.
Thank you. And with Chief White.
Chief White is here, Sergeant Half is here, and Officer McWhorter's here to listen in.
Can you put her on the camera so we can say hi?
Hold on 1 second.
Hello?
I can just leave it on her. You can just watch her while I talk.
There's a few changes to the agenda I'd like to make, and that is move number 7, vehicle purchase, lease option, to Sergeant Half's report. Number 12, we're going to go into executive session on that one. And that's it for that. So nobody signed up for public comment. Any disclosure of conflict of interest? Hearing none, I'd like to go to number 4, which is approved minutes from January 6th, 2021. I'll look for a motion to approve. Is
I'll make the motion to approve.
there a second? And that was Julie O'Rourke.
I can't second. I did not attend the meeting.
Stan Malagranda seconds. Do a roll call on that. Julie O'Rourke,
Yes.
Stan Malagranda, yes. Don Kimes.
Yes.
Okay, those are approved. We'll move on to number 5, use of force certification.
Grab that up there. So I submitted all our documentation, all our policies and everything to our assessor, and we were granted our certificate from the
Yay.
Illinois Law Enforcement Chief, Illinois Law Enforcement, or Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police. So we are certified. We can still get our grants that we need. So I want you guys to know this. So I will be presenting this to Frank on Monday at the board meeting.
Great, thanks.
All right, with that being said, we'll move on to number 6.
So the question came up if something were to happen to me or however it worked out, we had order of succession. I think we brought this up in the past. Obviously, it would, from me, if something happened to me, it would go to Officer Half. And then we chose, with the situation at hand, Jeff Spellman would be next in line. Randy Smith, right? Is that what we, Randy Smith and then Sarah. So that's it. If something were to happen in the line, you know, if people get COVID or like Monday, I won't be able to be here for the board meeting. I have a medical procedure. So if something were needed or had to happen or it needed to be done, Nick Half would need to be contacted for anything in such as that. I will make sure that everybody knows that's aware of that, and that may change over time, but that's the way it is for now. It's something that Chairman Malagranda wanted to have in place.
Any questions on that from committee members?
Nope.
All right, move to number 8, which is ILETA conference, SAO funding.
So there's a National Educators, International Law Enforcement Educators Seminar or Conference is coming up in St. Louis in March, late March, 21st through the 28th, I think it is. Officer Half has requested to go to that. Sergeant Half, I'm sorry. Sergeant Half requested to go to that. I'm not even used to it yet. So we put some numbers together. The cost involved with that ended up right around $3,500. That's for the conference itself, and his lodging. His pay was not included in that amount. Once he came to me and asked me this, I agreed with it because he can get a couple of his certifications, recertifications out of the way, his TASER recertification and his Glock Armor recertification, which we need. There's also a lot of other trainings. It's 6.5, 7 days of training every day, and you can choose what you want to get. He can get supervisory training, he can get tactical training, he can get a lot of things at that. So with that in mind, the past we have submitted somewhat of a grant reimbursement from the state's attorney's office to help cover some of those costs. Well, I went to S.A. Hanley and asked him if he would be willing to pay half that cost. And he has agreed, and in fact, we have received a check for half of that cost already.
Wow.
So $1,780.37 is covered by the state's attorney's office.
Jeff, why didn't you ask for all of it? That seemed too easy.
No, I had to I had to warm him over to that idea because he says, I get comments from attorneys in his office that don't get training because they don't have funding. Well, the money that he gives to me is a drug asset forfeiture fund. So that money that's coming out of that is what we're getting. He says, I can do it this year, but I have no guarantees I can do it next year or any years from here on out. So I thought it was very gracious of him to give us half of that cost. One of the things I did want to bring up is I would like to attend that conference as well. The only extra added cost would be the $410 fee for me to go to attend. Officer Haas' room's already been booked, and he's got 2 beds. The only question is if it's allowable for me to be gone the same time that he is. So I can go and get my required 20 hours of training as a chief of police that I need for the year in one location at one time, during that week's time. I'm not counting on anybody to agree to it. I'm just asking. Obviously, we would be available by phone. Obviously, we could not respond to something right away. I would talk with the sergeants or the command staff of the sheriff's department to see if we had a big event happen out here, if they would come out here and assist. But it's just a request. I don't look to see anybody agree to it, or more like it had questions about it than anything else. I think it's just it's a huge event. There's a lot of training goes on there, and there are national, international trainers that are there. You'll get things there that you won't get anywhere else. So my request is just if it'd be agreed that I could go the same time frame that Officer Half goes, so I can get my training as well.
If you are comfortable with it, Jeff, as a committee member anyway, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Neither do I. Trustee
Okay.
Times.
Thank you.
The only question I have on this training when it comes to Sergeant Half, do you work with him on the things that he can elect to be in that's going to help the department and him, or how does that work?
Yes, this is the first time I brought it here. I knew he was going. We haven't sat down and looked at the trainings that are available. I know there's tons of them. There's 8-hour days through all that week. Some of the trainings are, I think his TASER training is 1 day, 2 8-hour days. His Glock Armor is 1 8-hour day or 6 hours. I don't remember what it was, but then he's got a lot of other space in there we can fill up, and we want to look at that list of trainings and figure out which ones we would like to attend, so we know when we go, we know exactly what we're going for and what we're going to get. Obviously, supervisory and management classes for Nick outside the ones we need to have him take, and anything new for me that is very interesting. And I think there's a lot there that we can really choose from.
And what's nice about sending 2 at one time is we can kind of divide and conquer.
Yeah, he can go to one class that we're interested in. I can go to another, and that way we're getting double the training while we're there.
This is kind of like when we had our IML, Illinois Municipal League.
Yeah.
where we had a lot of trustees go. We would go through the agenda, and that way we weren't doubling up on our
You're listening to it,
classes
though, I can just turn my.
throughout that weekend. And Julie, I don't think you or Jeremy went when we were able to go to IML. Don, I know you did. And
Yep.
that's what we ended up doing, is everybody looking at the agenda, looking to see what it is that each one of us would be able to bring back to the board,
Right.
village. And that's how we operated that. And this is similar to that, except more intense training for the officers themselves.
And like I said, these are international trainers. These are people that go all over the world providing this training. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to attend and get a lot of good training. So I appreciate everybody and thank you very much for agreeing to that.
Hey, Jeff, budget, it's in the budget, in the training line. We're fine there.
Yep, yeah, we're good. There's 9,000 in that training budget right now. So
Okay.
about 1,700, maybe a little bit more. Wouldn't be a big deal because there are some costs as far as meals and stuff, but those are kind of minimal. So I think I think it's well within the range that we have. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the training that we're getting outside of that is online training. There's no cost involved with. We do have our NITAB training that costs us a little bit. That's just the membership fee, but most of the class or all the classes we get through NITAB are free. So if there's anything anybody wants to go to, I do want to look at, this is kind of outside the range, is sending somebody else to a firearm instructor course. And I don't think that cost is too high. I haven't even looked at that close yet. Some of the developments in the past 2 weeks have kind of moved my focus to other things. So the big thing was getting that use of force certification. Now that's out of the way. I've got time to focus on other things.
All right, with that being said, we'll go to number 9, which is the cell phones for the chief and the sergeant.
So I've been trying to do this for quite some time. Was finally able to reach a representative for our area for Verizon. So we got a cost analysis from them as to what it would cost to get 2 phones, one for Sergeant Half, one for myself, and then the monthly service. It was about $665 to start everything, including the phones. The phones were free, and the monthly charge for each phone is $40 per month. So if you compare that to what we were being paid to use our personal phones on a monthly basis, which was $50 a month, we're going to be saving $20 a month on this new program with cell phones. This way we keep our personal lives personal and our business lives business. There's no somebody coming in and asking to subpoena our phones and then get our personal phones. They will get the department phone if that's something they choose to do. It takes all of our personal aspects, personal emails, personal communications out of the fold. So we don't have to worry about that coming up at future dates. And like I said, it was a very good deal. Brand new phones at no cost, and then the service is $40 a month per phone. So that was well within my my budget, because I had figured like $65 a phone per month in my budget that I submitted for the year. So this should be well within that.
Okay, number 10.
So the first part of that I'm going to kind of lay off of right now, being with in conjunction with number 12. But the second part of that, the Altamirano probation, I didn't realize this. His probation was up on 6/6 of 2020. He was not given his 50-cent an hour raise at his year probation. So I had Sally Joe go back and figure up the numbers of what he would be paid back for that. I had come up with $139 was the total he would be back paid for his hours worked. And Sally Joe went back and found out he had worked a couple holidays, so that number is a little bit higher than that, but not much. So he's going to be paid that, and then his new rate of pay will be $18.50 an hour. And that's well within the allotment that we put out there for the part-time salaries.
Well, it should be 18.50 an hour and then the 2% raise.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then the 2% raise that was approved by the board would be included into that too, so. So like I said, the other part of that, I think is gonna be in conjunction with number 12, so we'll just leave that alone for now.
All right, we'll move to number 11, which is the insurance new hire, ratify hire date.
So we ran into a little bit of a snafu when Sarah McWhirter was hired. Because we had her start date on the 4th of January, the insurance broker or company stated that she would not be covered by insurance until March 1st. So I think I spoke to everyone about this and they agreed to technically move her hire date back to the 1st of January. So February 1st, she would be covered by insurance. So that has happened. She's now covered under our insurance. She has her temporary cards. We just need to ratify the hire date as 1/1 of 2021, which I had marked on here 2020. No, I didn't. No, I was looking at the wrong line. So we just need to ratify that. I don't know if we need to do it here or if we need to do it at the board meeting on Monday.
We have to vote here to be
Okay.
able to take it to the board meeting.
I guess it's just a motion to
So-
ratify.
We'll look for a motion to ratify.
I so moved.
I'm
I
done.
so moved. Yeah, trustee Grimes.
A second? Would you like to do that,
Second.
Julie?
Sorry, I'm muted.
On mute. Thank you very much.
All right.
Figured it out by now.
Take a roll call and we'll go with Don Kimes,
Yes.
Julie O'Rourke,
Yes.
Stan Malagranda, yes. So that will go to be put on the agenda for the February board meeting. Number 13 is NIMS training, which this is to where we get everybody to go over to the fire department to see exactly what it is that we have to do, what we're involved in, along with the fire department as far as any type of incident that happens here in the village. And as we all know, COVID is not letting that happen. So once the COVID restrictions are lifted to a point where we can gather over there, and it's a matter of getting a hold of the chief of the fire department in order to be able to schedule that. I'd like to get that going to make sure that everybody knows what we need to do in case, per se, we have a tornado here or a wind event like we have been having.
Wind, hail.
Right, so that is going to be a continuous thing on the agenda. And that being said, we'll go to number 14. You guys have that, which is the administrative tow fee
Yeah,
report.
there were no, I gave you the whole report, but there were no tows in January of this year. There were no administrative tows, so there's no addition to that number.
Okay, number 15 is the monthly statistics of
Yeah,
everything.
it's all the offenses that occurred. I believe I provided it to you guys as well. No big numbers, no big crimes. There was another aggravated domestic battery involving strangulation in early January. So, like I said, mentioned once before, I think that's kind of a trend that's happened in the past couple months that I'm not real happy with. But arrests have been made on both of those, so hopefully we can quell any type of increase in that type of offense. And we're still slow a little bit because if you've lived here long enough, you know that the sidewalks basically roll up in the winter time when it's cold out and the snow's on the ground. So not a whole lot of activity right now.
All right, move on to number 16, which is Chief White's report.
The only thing I have to add to this, if you weren't made aware of it, Alan Nyland has submitted his resignation as of February 12th. He will no longer, after the 12th, he will no longer be a police officer or employed by the village. He has chosen to go elsewhere to greener pastures apparently, so We're now back on the stage where we need to look for another officer. We're
Where's he
looking-
going, Jeff? Do you know?
I think he's going to Pecatonica. That's what I've heard. No confirmation from him, but I think he's going to Pecatonica full time.
Okay.
Just so you're aware, he's been asked to attend the board meeting on Monday. As the last board meeting, he'll be here as an employee, so there will be something for him. I also want to repeat that I will not be here on the 8th. I have a medical procedure that I have to go to that I won't be available for the board meeting. So Sergeant Haas going to stand in my place, and we're going to sit down and do an agenda for items. If there's anything you want included in that, please let me know fairly quickly, because that needs to be turned in by Friday at noon. Some of these items that are on this agenda may be included in the board meeting, but obviously the ratification of Sarah McWhirter's hire dates will have to be there. The other things are just kind of a notification. Obviously, the use of force certification will be there as well. If you think of anything else, please let me know. Other than that, that's really all I have for now for my report. So.
Jeff, I think on the agenda, you're also going to have to put salaries. I think it has to be on there so that we can come out of executive session and vote. So I'm pretty sure that has to be on the board agenda under police.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know where that was going. I haven't really heard any more about that, so.
Well, Stan, I think we're talking about that today, and I didn't know if we were going into executive session or not for that,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, there's a couple things for executive tonight. Hopefully it won't take very long, but just kind of an FYI with a couple items that are on the agenda right now, so.
Yeah, I think with the salaries, like I said, I think it has to be on the board agenda. Otherwise, we can't come out of executive session with a vote because it wouldn't have been on there. That's my understanding anyway, so.
Right, for the board meeting, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we can discuss whatever we want here in the executive session,
Yeah.
right? My understanding.
Yes.
Okay,
Are you done now?
I'm done.
Okay,
You want
Sergeant
to
Haas.
come over here?
Yeah, that's fine. Play musical chairs.
I can look at your face for a minute.
Yeah.
Fine. Good, let Sarah sit there, we can just talk around her.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
All right, so I was asked by Trustee Malagranda to take a look into different options for patrol vehicles with the issues that we had with the 2013 Interceptor sedan that we have. It's currently sitting at about 87,000 miles and actually sits with a check engine light today. So we are continuing to have issues with that vehicle. One of the options is leasing. So I'm talking to a couple different leasing providers just to get prices. And the little bit of research that I've done, an agency just to the east of us in McHenry County leased a 2021 Chevy Tahoe, fully outfitted, fully striped, patrol ready, out the door for about $1,200 a month. And that comes out to about $1,400 or $14,000 a year, which is less than what we put in our sinking fund. That also includes all the maintenance for the vehicle, oil changes, tires, anything that we might need in that lease period. So I'm kind of exploring that. I've talked to Enterprise Leasing because they do governmental leasings, but I was informed yesterday that they'll only really do 20 vehicles or more. So I'm waiting for them to get back to me on other info. There's a couple different companies that do leasing. One called First Government Leasing, which actually sent us a postcard in the mail about the time I started doing this research. So it kind of worked out pretty well. And that includes, we can roll everything into the cost of that. We can roll, even if we wanted to put the gasoline cost for that vehicle in there, we could do it that way as well. But that could also include new computers, new camera systems. It's actually not a bad way to look at it. I'm just waiting to get a couple more numbers before we do anything beyond that.
Tell them they lease all kinds of vehicles, not just.
And and when it comes to leasing, especially like Enterprise, they lease all types of different vehicles. They lease pickup trucks for public works, dump trucks, snow plows, garbage trucks. I mean, there's a lot of different options out there. As far as the village itself, though, we only own 11 vehicles, and of 2 of those vehicles, they're trailers. So really, we only own 9 vehicles. So that they wanted to know how many vehicles the entire village had. So I gave them all the info that I could. So I'm still digging around on that, and I'll get some more info before hopefully the next board or the next police committee meeting, so that I have some idea of what the options are that we have, because we can't keep putting good money after bad and fixing stuff with the Taurus if it's going to continue to just give us problems. And obviously, you know, I think we're sitting at 16,000 in the budget and sinking fund for a vehicle, so we can't really outright purchase one anytime soon either. So if everyone's all right with that, I'll continue getting numbers and going on that route just to see what kind of options we do have.
May have more information next week.
And we should have more information by the next police committee meeting. Number
Yeah,
2,
so we would have
Sorry.
to look at like a rolling lease program or something like that, right? If we
right.
did something like this.
And one of the agencies in Winnebago County, Rockton, they're on a 4-year lease. And at the end of the 4 years, they decide if they're going to renew a lease with a new car, and they just turn it in. And in some cases, the leasing company will allow you to buy the vehicle at the end of the lease for as little as $1 because it's a government lease. What are they going to do with that car once it's, you know, got a bunch of holes in it and striping on it? So like I said, once I've got more info, I'll let everyone know. I spent the last week emailing back and forth with Enterprise trying to figure out the best way to go about it.
Okay.
Number 2 on my list is the training report for Officer McWhorter. When we hired Officer McWhorter, we did so based on her training and experience. She's an experienced law enforcement officer, experienced investigator. Training for her has been very easy. A lot of these situations, she's either been on calls with me before in the past, or she has worked a lot of her own cases. So obviously we have her training at an accelerated rate and kind of going through the FTO manual. Typically when we hire a new officer, they get about 120 shifts, or not shifts, sorry. It's about 4 months of training, 3.5 months of training that they would be, you know, together with another officer. However, based on her training and experience, I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to, I'm not going to step her through every single scenario like this is a marked police car. This is what we do with a marked police car. She already knows all that stuff. And especially with some of the orientation stuff in the FTO manual, she can actually teach me a little bit more than I could probably teach her. So I'm not going to sit there and reinvent the wheel with her, so to speak. And I'll circle back to that with my last point. We did put up a job posting on Facebook to get, to see what other applicants are out there for, to fill the spot for Officer Nyland. Since he gave his resignation, we wanted to see what other applicants were out there because we didn't get a lot prior in our last couple times that we put it out there. And I am holding on to one application for an employee or for an officer who has worked here in the past, and he would like to come back here as a full-time officer instead of a part-time officer as he was before. And then we also have the other candidate that we interviewed at the time that we interviewed Officer McWhorter. So I do have 2 people that are interested in the position. One, the person that we interviewed with Officer McWhorter, I know he wants a higher dollar amount. And the other applicant, I'm pretty sure would come in at where we would feel comfortable hiring somebody where it wouldn't hurt the pocketbook, so to speak.
I have one comment there, and Stan, you may have, I can't remember if you were in this meeting. I think it could have even been an executive session, but I know Mike McKinnon had expressed interest that the next police hire be somebody that can kind of grow up through the ranks. I don't know, Nick, who you're talking about, if it's somebody that would be at the same experience level as Nyland or somebody else, but I know that's kind of our desire, is to grow them, homegrown, and let them kind of advance up type of thing. So would that candidate fit that role, or?
Well, so typically when we hire officers, we only hire people that are already certified. And typically that means that we get somebody who's a little bit older into their career. I know the one individual who was part-time here at one point in time, he did work full-time for another agency, but he has a lot to bring to the table, and he's already familiar with a lot of our policies and our procedures. The only thing as far as training would go would just be things that have been updated since he left, like the new RMS system, the new camera system, stuff like that. Hiring if you're talking about maybe a new hire who has no experience, where we would have to send them through the academy, there's a significant cost included with that. It's like a $6,000 bill just for their training. And that obviously doesn't include their salary while they're there, their travel while they're there, their per diem every day. The $6,000 is just the base cost for training.
Yeah, I think we budgeted for that. We actually did budget for that.
Kind of, because some of that training budget did come out of there. Because I think we originally.
It was originally at 13, but they knocked a couple off of it.
Mm-hmm.
If we had to squeeze it out of there, we could, but it'd be tight.
Yeah, it would be a bit of a dance, but we tried to figure it out if that were the case.
So are you saying that the candidates now are going to be kind of at Nyland's level?
Yeah. Well, one of them has got very little experience, and he would need a lot of training, but it's kind of like a fresh mold, so to speak.
Yeah, he would have to go back for 2 weeks as well, because he's only certified for part-time.
And he'd have to go back to a 2-week transitional course because he was a part-time officer, now coming to full-time. So, I mean, there is, I understand what you're saying now. Yeah, he would be a little bit moldable because he wouldn't be, and I'm not sure
set in his ways.
I'm not sure how old he is.
I'm not sure. Huh?
Okay.
Just keep that in mind as you're looking. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to have a limited candidate pool, I would think, based on history. But I just know that that's kind of been the thought process that's been shared. Is it'd be nice to get people that we can mold into the Winnebago way, so to speak.
Right. I get you. The problem that I know from working in smaller agencies is, we'll take a brand new officer who has zero experience, then send them to the academy. And then about a year later, they'll say, all right, cool, I'm going to go to this agency now because you've got my base. Now I'm going to go learn how to do all the, the cool cop TV stuff. And at the end of the day, they're going to also go where the money's at. And, what, an agency like Rockford or the county would pay, or even Cherry Valley.
We've already seen that in the past.
And they come, to an agency like us that starts in their, low 40s, and then they get their 2 years experience, and then they'll go to Cherry Valley. That'll start them out at 65.
Or the county.
Yeah. So that's my only fear with doing that, but that's kind of the gamble you take with no matter who you hire. So just something for us to think about going forward. Any questions on that one? Nope. Okay. And then my last item is the schedule. I have adjusted the schedule with the loss of Officer Nyland on our department. Starting next week, Officer Spellman requested to go to his shift. So now he will go to Nyland's old shift, and Officer McWhorter will start Spellman's shift. So we will continue to have 24-hour coverage in the Village of Winnebago. And once we get a new officer hired, we will go back to having one extra floating position that covers vacation and training opportunities for other officers. Especially with hiring a new hire, having that mid-car will be kind of essential to make sure that they've got somebody there who's more seasoned and more experienced within the village of Winnebago to help guide them along their route. So I've looked at the schedule a couple different ways. I've made some very minor changes, and so far so good. Everyone is wanting to work together to figure out the best way to make sure that all of our shifts are covered.
So with the Nyland news, how are you guys, we're not going to have coverage with you both gone for the training week, obviously, right? I mean, we'll
Right.
have to have other outside coverage.
Well, we will have coverage during the evening.
Yeah, every night will be covered.
Every single night shift will be covered. And I'm really hoping that if we end up hiring somebody with some experience, that'll be helpful. But the part-timers, they seem to really like to work daytime and not so much nighttime. So I have a feeling that we won't have a problem with the 3 part-timers that we have jumping on the opportunity to work day shifts.
Okay.
So and the 3 part-timers we have,
I didn't know how, your head up thinking.
all 3 of the part-timers that we have are very well seasoned. They know what they're doing here in the village, and they also know if they have questions, we're a phone call away. So we weren't sure how the board or how the committee was going to see both of us being gone at the same time. So I hadn't quite reached out that far ahead as far as planning.
We don't know.
But I know that of the 3 that I have, they are all very open to jumping in and helping. And like I said, it just seems that they all want to work daytime, so that'll kind of work out the best. Because really the only shifts that need to be covered will be my own. And that I think is only 3 or 4 days. So I'm fairly confident that we'll be able to get somebody to cover those shifts.
And then is Officer McWhorter being brand new okay with the shift change?
She actually, yeah, more than okay. She's actually going back to her old shift that she was on with the sheriff's office. So, and that's
Okay.
what she wanted. She said that, you know, if I had to work one of the night shifts, I'd rather work that one. And it just worked out very well. As of this morning, I found out that Officer Spellman wanted to go to the other shift. So it'll be a very easy transition for her.
Okay, good.
All right. And that's all I have. Any questions for me? All right. Musical picks.
Yeah. So Stan goes there.
No.
Yeah, get up.
Okay, any new business? All right, well, looks like we'll need a motion to go into exit this, to go into an executive meeting.
Trustee
make-
Keim. Oh,
All right.
go ahead, go ahead.
Second. Nope, I'll second. We'll go into executive session.
Okay.
All right. Roll call on that. Don Kimes,
Yes.
Julie O'Rourke,
Yes.
Stan Malagranda, yes. So it is now 5. Oh, that clock is wrong, isn't it?
5:39,
5:39.
come back in at 5:45.
Yes,
Do we-
5:45.
Huh?
Do we have a separate login for this?
There's supposed to be one attached to the email.
Is it all right if I attend the executive session?
What's that?
Jeremy wants to know if he can be in the executive session.
I'm fine with it.
Problem with it? Yes.
I don't either.
Do you have the email or the number?
You got the link,
Jeremy?
Jeremy?
I'm trying to find, is it in Kelly's?
That I do.
Yeah, it should have been
It was
Kelly's.
in the email.
Oh, got it. I got it.
Do you have one, Jeremy?
I'm 99% sure the answer is yes. Yes, I do.
Okay.
So at 5:45, we'll come back into executive session.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Do I stop the recording on this one? Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
You can pause it.
Ask Jeremy, he knows.
Yeah, you stop it or pause it.
I always stop it and then I start it again when I come back.
Okay,
So there's
All right.
2 takes for this meeting.
okay. Thank you. We'll see you in a little bit.